All right. I don't know what was going on there. Everything froze up and stopped. It doesn't look like this time it doesn't look like a Mac problem. It doesn't look like it was overheating, slowing down. Everything was moving. And I did have the opportunity to look at the Rumble connection again, and I went back over it, and it was right. So I hit it, but apparently Rumble didn't take. And now we've lost the Facebook personal feed. So hopefully, I don't know, Briggs, is there anything you can do for the Facebook personal feed on your end? Can you redo it on there?
I don't have your stream key.
Trippy is reporting that we have YouTube, Facebook Blue, and Twitch at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, it's YouTube, Facebook, Blue, Twitch. Briggs is going to make sure TikTok goes. But if you can't restream it on like you do TikTok, you don't just restream it through Streamlabs or something.
I don't have your stream key.
Okay.
Or
Let's just go.
But they give you one when you open up the Facebook page.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, I know.
They do that.
I don't know. If he really wanted to, I think Facebook Personal, he could find a way to restream it for everybody on that side. If he really, really wants to, he could find a way. I think I could even find a way, and I'm a dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert. All right. So let's go to the sheets real quick because I know we missed some things out there, and then we'll get back to the program. Gen X Mom, what do you have for us between the sheets right now?
Well, let's see. Shane Magnus on YouTube. Where do I sign up for a subscription? I'm not exactly sure what subscription, if it's YouTube or... Because that came in when we were talking about Twitch, too.
Well, it depends on what he's looking for. I mean, if you want to have a subscription to YouTube, you just subscribe and join, and it's free. If you want to have some sort of membership where you can see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, we post a lot of private content for our members, a lot of not-for-public consumption, as they say. There's three places to do that. If you're on Facebook, you got to go to the General's Lunchbox is a Facebook page. That's one. It's $1. Patreon is $1, and YouTube Member Services is $1. I'm not sure if there's is there a place on our website that has all those links? Is there a Linktree does, I think. If someone had the Linktree, if someone had our Linktree URL, you guys could find it there because
the mods do. Mods can post.
If you guys can put up the Linktree one, that shows how you get into those sites. If you want, it's $1. You can join those for $1. Unless you want to hear Gen X Mom and all of her glory say and do things that she's not supposed to, then it's Patreon only, and it's $5.
Wow.
That's right. I whore my wife out for $5 a month, and you can too for $5. All right.
Wow. Would you like, let's see, Star Roberts, member for 2 months. General, do you think that many miss opportunities because usually it comes disguised as work?
Say that again.
I'm reading it just the way it was written.
Go ahead.
General, do you think that many miss opportunity because usually it comes disguised as work?
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. You guys all get on Briggs, Gen Z kid, because he's one of the laziest fucking kids on the planet. Incomplete George is what I call him. And I was the same way. And I can look back now and realized from 17 to 25, there was opportunities that I missed, huge opportunities that I was too lazy to follow up on, or it was kind of and I've told this story before. I'll tell one real quick here. I was working in the San Fernando Valley at a Chevron gas station on Whitsett and Victory, I believe it was. That gas station's probably there still, right across from, it used to be a driving range and some soccer fields. And every morning I'd pump gas. I had the morning shift. I'd open up this full service gas station. Remember full service? And I used to go over there and then check tires and wash windows. And I was the only one there in the morning. And there was this black Porsche and a white Porsche. It was a man and wife. They both used to pull up every day. Well, okay, every week. Every week they'd come by for gas. Not every day, every week. And I got to know them just by name, and I would take care of their cars and clean up their stuff and tires and wash their windows. And one day we started talking about what I'd like to do in life. And I told him a bunch of stuff that I'd been doing. And he said, how would you like to learn how to be a cinematographer? And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know cinematography. He explained that, what a cinematographer does in movies and in TV and how you can become the lead cinematographer and you choose the camera angles and the visuals and how that all works. And I really wanted to do that. And he said, well, I'm going to give you a pass. I'm going to leave a pass at the studio, and I want you to come down every day for like 5 days and just follow me around. And he was a big executive. He was he was one of the big execs. He could do whatever he wanted. And he said, and if you follow me around, I'll introduce you to everybody, and we'll see if you like it, and we can put you on doing some stuff, and maybe you're just pushing a broom at first. And I said, okay. And I said, what show are you working on? And he said, I'm working on Scarecrow and Mrs. King. At the time, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, I didn't like that show. I was a kid. I was, 19? And I didn't think, Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Couldn't you work on something cool like the A-Team or Chips or the Incredible Hulk, even Charlie's Angels? Scarecrow and Mrs. King. And I passed because the TV show wasn't really something I liked. I said, well, call me when you're working on something. And he never called back. And it would have been work, and I would have had to work on a TV show that I wasn't interested in, and probably push a broom. But can you imagine where I'd be right now if I had actually followed through and just sucked it up? So you want to talk about? I will tell you, there's missed opportunities. That's why it's so easy as a grown-up, as an adult, to look at children and say, "You're fucking this up. You're missing," because we've already done it. I've already fucked up and missed enough opportunities. I can see them now, but they don't come my way anymore. And when they do, I'm not dumb enough to let go, because it's just years of experience. I've been around the sun 56 laps. 56 laps around the sun, and boy, I've picked up a few things, especially from my mistakes. That was one of them. I can count 5 of them in my life that I really fucking blew it on. That was one. And just because I was like, nah, another opportunity will come my way. Really? Some executive producers that run half the studio are just going to show up at your work and offer you a job and take you under their wing. That's going to happen again. But when I was young, I always had opportunities like that. Things always came my way. It seemed like every 5 or 6 months, some big person in some big place was sitting with me going, "Hey, we see something special in you, and why don't you come do this with us?" And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am pretty special. I'll wait for the next one and the next one. And the next one, until those opportunities got further and further apart, and then they quit happening altogether. So, yeah, I was very thankful that my wife decided to marry me, because that was the last big thing that came my way, and I said yes. I would have said that was the last big thing that came my way, and I jumped on it. But her brother's watching, and that doesn't sound right when you say, "I jumped on your sister. She was the best opportunity." I don't want to say that. So I said, "It's the best opportunity," and I grabbed a hold of it and ran with it. See,
but your whole family told you to do it this time.
Okay, yes. My whole family liked you. Everyone in my family said, "Don't fuck this up." All right. So, yeah, that's a legit question.
Would you like some more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Danny H. gifted 5 memberships tonight. Star Roberts gifted 5 memberships. Michelle M. gifted 5 memberships tonight. Also, we have a question. Are you ready?
I'm ready for the question.
Richard Clemens on Facebook. What's the worst shit box you ever worked on?
Well, there's a ton of them.
There's a ton of them.
I know one that came to mind that was real tough was the early Subaru. They had a band transmission that had no gears. It shifted like a centrifugal clutch, and that was a bad one to do. Those transmissions were real tough in the late 80s. Then the other one was Dodge Colt. Do you guys remember Dodge Colts? The 2-wheel drive 4-cylinder Dodge Colt, simplest one to work on ever. The 4-wheel drive Dodge Colts, they crammed under the hood with this transmission. You couldn't get to anything. Replacing the starter was like an 8.5-hour job for a starter. There was some shitty cars to work on that you dreaded doing anything on. Or when you realized there's one year, I think it was a Nissan pickup truck one year, when it had a V6 in it, or maybe it was a V8 when they got to the Titans, you had to pull the entire exhaust out to change a spark plug. Or a Ford Aerostar. The first time I worked on a Ford Aerostar with a transverse V6, I remember I was watching one of my friends. We were going to a gas station up in Wrightwood, believe it or not. There was a Chevron gas station I worked at for like a year up in Wrightwood, California. And this kid, he was a stepson of the owner, and they hated each other. The dad and the kid hated each other. and it was kind of funny. They used to the owner would come out. He's like a bald Italian guy, and he's real heavy set, and he'd scream at his stepson, and his dad would go, or the kid would go, "Sing to me, Daddy, sing to me, because as soon as you're dead, Mom's giving me all this. As soon as you die, Mom's gonna give it all to me." And he'd scream, "I'm not giving you shit," and he'd just be pissed about it. And anyway, the kid was not too bad of a mechanic, but a Ford Aerostar came in. And he was supposed to change the spark plugs, and he changed 5 of the 6 spark plugs. And he's putting it back together, and I'm like, "Dude, you didn't get the number 6 plug." He goes, "Yeah, that's a 200,000 mile plug. You can just leave that. That you only got to do that one every 200,000 miles." I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Well, it's too difficult. It was really fucking hard to change that one, so he just left that one in there and hoped it didn't misfire, and he called it a 200,000 mile plug. We're okay. Ford puts a 200,000 mile plug in that one, so you don't got to change it because it's really difficult to get to. So I don't know. I couldn't even count the number of shit boxes I've worked on or the number of shit boxes I owned. Tons. All right.
Are you just going to leave me up on the screen the whole time? So
I might. You're pretty, and my voice is handsome. It's a good combination.
Can't see the tip jar.
Well, okay. What else you got?
What else do I have? Jane Motts, $2. Do you guys have a Christmas tradition you do?
Yeah, probably
Lots.
quite a few.
I know. I'm trying to think of one.
We do behind me right here. You guys can see Hans Gruber falling from Nakatomi Plaza, and when he gets all the way to the bottom, then Christmas has arrived. That's the Gen X way.
What do you read every Christmas Eve?
Every Christmas Eve, I read
Briggs just said it
out loud. 'Twas the night before Christmas.
Yes, you
I
do.
found some pictures, believe it or not, that you took of me sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting ready to open that book, and Briggs is like 4, and he's doing this right next. He's, "Oh, Dad's gonna read it." I mean, I found there's such the same one. One of our sons is like this, going, "Okay, just get this over with, read this," because he was a teenager. But yeah, every Christmas we do that.
We do that, definitely.
Hey, when we move to Dayton, it's just you and I. Am I still doing that? Am I going to read it for the
yeah, I'll
dogs?
crawl in your lap and you can read it to me, okay?
And the dogs can stare at me?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll sit by you.
They're a captive audience.
All right. Danny H wants to know, did anyone 100% do the crossword puzzle?
No one has done the crossword puzzle, but I got to tell you, that's hard. That's a little bit of 80s nostalgia, but it's heavy on Gen X knowledge. Gen X Talks knowledge, heavy on Gen X Talks knowledge, but there's one spelling error, but it doesn't affect the puzzle. It might affect your score. You might get a 95% instead of 100. Well, thanks for announcing it while I'm talking. That's important.
Sorry.
So it may affect your score. It may affect your score 95% to 100, but I would give you the 100%. If that's the only thing was there was one letter that got spelled differently, I'd probably just go ahead and give it to you. But nobody's got it. I was waiting because when you submit your crossword puzzle, it asks for an email. I was waiting for 100% one so I could send someone a prize. But
somebody's going, what crossword puzzle?
It's up on the website. It's been on all the pay sites. We talked about it every goddamn live stream, and no one's gotten it. So I'm surprised St. Donna hasn't given it a shot. That's what I'm really surprised about.
Jason wants to know, Briggs, question for you. Jason Bertrand wants to know on YouTube, are you still selling knives?
On the side, yeah, I am.
You
On the
can.
down low?
You can sell knives.
Yeah, on the side, yeah, I am.
That was it?
Boom. And question answered.
So we get this big build-up, and
I know,
Jason
and then
Bertrand had
that
a
was
question.
it.
There we go.
We switch screens to then
Easy.
conclude him. And Briggs, are you still selling knives? And the answer is
Yep.
yes.
What if somebody wants to get a hold of you to buy some knives?
I am so glad you asked.
You're welcome.
You can email me at briggs@genxtalks.com. Shout out Trippy for putting it in.
Briggs
Pause.
at genxtalks.com.
There you go. King Oak, $2. General. When was the last time your chin could see?
Get me off the screen.
Probably
Great
it's
broadcast professional.
not my lifetime. I mean, not
20.
5th grade.
I was 20, I think, 19 or 20. I'm going to say 19 or 20. She has forced me, 2 women in my life have forced me to shave this part down so I got a big old fat goat.
You lied because you told me I was the only one.
Well, you know the second one. It was recently. The first one was my wife. Every now and then she goes, here.
I don't like the full beard.
You got to take it off. The other one was Mrs. 4. Mrs. Ford wanted me to shave it off so she could see it, so I did that for her twice in the last 2 years. But that's it. Those are the only two people that have ever gotten me to take it off there. Now you know.
I don't like the full beard.
Waiting on you. Sheets.
Oh, there's more? Okay.
I don't know.
Dragon Slayer Jade got her membership to be an extra tonight. Firewood Art, $10. Everybody say hi to my kid, Charles White. Got that name? Charles White?
Charles White.
I've been trying to get him in here, and he finally showed up. Hey, General, he needs your wisdom as much as Briggs does some days. Love ya, kid.
Yeah, well, if I can't get through to Briggs, I doubt I'm going to get through to your kid. So, hey, here's Charles White. Listen to your dad. You're not right. You're wrong. Your name's Charles Wrong, and you need to figure that shit out.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Shane Magnus became a member tonight on Bottom of the Glass Nation on YouTube. Welcome. Scott Royston, member for 14 months. I always took every opportunity in my art career for the very reasons the handsome general is sharing. Love you both. Briggs, get on the jukebox show.
Okay.
Okay.
Kristen Hartman, General, what is the craziest or weirdest car story that ever happened in your career? Oh my gosh, that could go on all night.
I thought we just wanted a car story. So, no, like in... Yeah. Boy, I've shared some of them. Remember when I told you that story? The one that comes to mind is a story I've shared before on the podcast and I'll tell it now.
Can I get off the screen?
Train broadcast.
You know what? I'm just going to leave you up there, just you, and going to continue on. All right. So there was one that came to mind, and let's see. Did we get the jar up there? Yeah, it is. When Kia first became Kia, I went to work for a Kia dealership because all of their engines and transmissions and their wiring schematics and everything were taken right from Mazda. Now, I don't know if they bought them from the same vendor or if they just typed their dubage or if that was, the part numbers were very similar. So it was an easy transition when Kia came and said, hey, we're opening up a dealership. We want to get Kias going, and they're all built like Mazda. They went to all the Mazda dealerships and tried to steal Mazda technicians. So I went and worked for them for a little while. But they were in the beginning, they were really flimsy cars. They were really thin, like all the Japanese cars back there. When you had an American car with a big, heavy door and the door shut and it didn't hang right, you had to do some adjustments. You had to take and support the door with a jack, and you had to go in there and pull things out and loosen things and adjust things and put in a shim, align the door, tighten everything down, and try the door again. You can move the striker a little bit, but you had to get the door to seal. It was not easy. The big ones back in the 70s and early 80s were tough. But the Japanese ones, if the door didn't seal right, if the door closed, but the top, there was a little bit of a gap where water could get in, you just take the door out and you just bend it in your hands and then shut it again. Sure enough, it would fit. That's literally how you would do it with Japanese cars. So they were a little tinny, if you know what I mean. And this one lady had come in with a Kia, and I don't remember what kind of car, a little two-door thing, and she was having a problem. And I remember the car being in brand new. Car was at the dealership probably, 3 or 4 times in 1 month, 4 or 5 weeks. And I never really paid attention to why it kept coming back in. I didn't have to work on it. Somebody else was doing it, but I remember it being in there often. So one day a service writer comes back and says, listen, I got this car and I saw it sitting in this service drive. And I said, that thing's been in here a bunch. He goes, yeah, nobody can figure this thing out. And I said, well, what's the complaint? But remember, back then, I was young and ambitious and a hotshot. Whenever you told me that other people were trying to figure something out and they couldn't do it, that's the problem I wanted. I'd like, give me that. Let me be. I just wanted to do it so I could say that I fixed it. I didn't care if I lost money and time on it. I was all about the prestige of, I wanted to be the guy. So he gives me this, and the complaint was simple. The woman complains. She pulls up, she shuts the car off, and gets her keys, gets her purse, opens the door, and as she gets out of the car would ding 1 time. She'd shut the door and she'd go in the house and she'd do her stuff, and then when she'd go to get back in the car, she says, I open up the car door, I get in, and as I'm getting in the car goes ding 1 time. She can drive all over town when she goes to get out of the grocery store. Ding. 1 ding. And she goes, it doesn't matter if it's day or night. If I've driven it for a short distance, a long distance, it can be raining, it can be sunny. I get out of the car. As I'm getting out of the car, ding, and then I shut the door. As I'm going to get in the car, as I'm sitting down, ding. And no one's figured it out. So I took the car back to my stall, and the first thing I'm trying to I can't make it do it. I cannot make it do it. And I'm trying to figure out what noise it is. Is it really a ding? Is it a buzz? So the service rider actually calls the woman back down to the dealership. She gets a ride back down there. She comes back out after lunch. And I said, could you please just make it do it once? And she gets in and gets out of it. Sure enough, it dings. I get in and get out of it. No ding. She gets in and out of it. Ding. I said, okay, now that I've heard it, let's go from there. So it was the same chime like if you leave your headlights on. It'll go ding, ding, ding with your headlights if you leave them on. Or if you leave your key in the ignition, ding, ding. It's the same ding. It's the same thing. So I saw her do it, and I watched her do it twice, and sure enough, when she got into the car, it dinged one time. And when she got out of the car, it dinged one time. And I knew it was something to do with making that. I knew what the noise was now. And so by process of elimination, if the key was on, it could have been a seatbelt noise. Same noise for that particular car was a seatbelt noise. But she didn't even have the key on. She was getting in the car, getting out of there. Her key wasn't even in the ignition. So you're narrowing it down to the lights. Well, she wasn't anywhere near the light control. She wasn't touching the lights. It had nothing to do with the lights. So the only other thing that could make the noise is if you leave your key in the ignition, which was dumb because she had her keys in her hand. Now, the way that it worked back then, you had a wire and a wire really close together like this. And when you put your key in there, it made contact. It made metal contact. And if you open the door to leave, and the computer can see that you've left a key in there, it'll go ding, because these two wires are now connected because the keys touching all the metals in a row now. You follow me? If you leave the key in and open the door, you turn the key off, but you leave it in and you open the door like you're getting out, ding, because it sent the two wires are, they're not touching, but the key makes them all touch, and then say, hey, you're leaving your keys in the ignition. But she wasn't doing that. Her keys were out. But she was a big girl. She's big like me, like 350, 400 pounds. She's huge. And I did notice that she struggled getting in and out of the car. It's a little car, and she's a big girl. So I got in the car, and I sat there, and I put the key in the ashtray, and I opened the door. No dinging. And then I grabbed that steering wheel, and I went, and I bent it pretty far until, guess what? Until in the column right there, I was shifting the whole column. Guess what? I tweaked it so far, those wires touched. Ding. And what was happening was she was such a big person that as she grabbed the wheel to get out of the car, she bent it till the wires touched and thought the key was in there, and it would ding one time, and she'd let go of the wheel, and then it would go back to normal. When she would get out of the car, she'd grab the steering wheel, same thing, one big to get her out of the car, bent everything, just touched barely, and it would ding. So I brought the service manager out, and of course now he's out there with the service manager, the service rider, and three mechanics that are going, all right, dude, what'd you find? And I told them the story. They all went, no fucking way. I sat down in the car and grabbed it and went, ding, and I let it go. And they're like, oh my God. So I filled out my paperwork and threw the service rider the keys and said, you get to tell her. You get to tell her. And so guess what the asshole did? When she came back to pick up her car, he calls me up there and says, here, can you explain to this lady what you found? I know it's technical. I probably won't say it right, but I'll let you explain it. And I'm like, you motherfucker. And I had to tell this woman, I said, well, now, this... his car a little flimsy, and it's a small car, and I said, look, it even happens to me. I mean, I've had this happen before. You're not the first person that has happened. It's happened to others. It's happened to me. And she goes, oh, it happens to you too? So I got in the car intentionally grabbing the steering wheel as hard as I could, not making it look obvious until it dinged once. And I said, see? It's just me, little old me, just getting it because at the time I was skinny. I said, see, it just happens. It's not you. It's just the way of the world, and we're sorry. It's a design flaw with the car. It only happens one time. We do apologize. And then she was like, oh, okay, and she was fine. And down the road, motors we went. But there's a ton of those type of stories that happen when you're working at the car dealerships. That's just the one that came to mind. I hope that answers your question correctly or sufficiently.
That was for Kristen.
All right, Kristen. Hope that helped you out.
Danny H., the movie Big Trouble in Little China. Carpenter masterpiece or flop?
Well, it's you kind of have to. First of all, I'm a Kurt Russell fan, so I was going to like it no matter what. I don't know. It's kind of you look at it. Even then, it was kind of goofy with the effects and the storyline, but I don't know. It's kind of what you make of it. I liked it. I don't think it was a masterpiece, but it certainly wasn't a flop. It was just good entertainment. I thought it was fun. It was a fun movie. And that's one thing that I see people get hung up on today is they're like, oh, it's got to be the greatest movie ever, or this was a shit movie. Why can't you walk out going, oh, that was a pretty good movie. It's okay. I probably won't see it again. Maybe I'll wait till it comes out on cable or something, but it's pretty good. So that's where I'm at with that one.
Okay.
What else you got?
Anoop on YouTube. Forgot to ask this in the Halo live stream, but what were the games you played in your childhood? And were there video games kind of things then?
Well, I was around when the Atari 2600 came out. I mean, we started with Pong. You know, when Pong came out, I guess like 76 or 77. I mean, we just thought Pong was the greatest thing ever. As soon as my uncle got Pong, every single family get-together was there was an hour or two of Pong. We used to play. My family was pretty tight, so we would play family games. You had a big get-together. At some point, you're playing cards, you're playing Tripoli, or you're playing Canasta, or you're playing some board game that everybody can play. And so we replaced the board games with Pong for a time, and then I was a part of when Atari 2600 came out. We thought that was the greatest thing ever, even though the graphics really sucked. You know, you bought a game like Asteroids thinking, ooh, this is going to look like Asteroids in the arcade. No, not even fucking close. Your asteroids are pink and they're blue and they're green, and you're like, but you played it because it was brand new and it was still pretty cool. And then, it graduated from there. And right about the time I was getting old enough to start having a full-time job and start taking care of stuff, we were at the end of Intellivision, ColecoVision, Nintendo. I did get drawn back in when the Sega Genesis came out, because for me, that was such a big leap forward that, yeah, I started playing some games on there that I thought were fucking great, at that time. So that's that. I mean, you want to get specifics. Someone show me how to beat Echo the Dolphin and you'll be my hero. I'll buy you a fucking sandwich. I couldn't beat that fucking thing to save my life. I got stuck on, I don't even, what the machine, the level. That's how much it traumatized me. I can still tell you the fucking level. So there was games like that. What else you got?
James Martin on Facebook goes, Gen X Santa this year?
I'm not doing Santa. You guys paid me cash last time to dress up as Santa, and it still wasn't worth it. There are still people that send that picture to me from the screenshot. No, I'm not doing Santa. I'm not fucking doing it.
Christina Dvorak, $2. Have you, as a family, ever gone Christmas caroling? You and I didn't, but our kids did it.
Yeah, you and the kids went.
I don't know if I might have walked them around.
You walked them around, and the kids, yeah, they went. Remember they got their friends together and went through the neighborhood?
Yes.
They were all like 10, 11, and 12. Yeah.
They did it.
They've done that.
Jane Mott says, Trippy Pineapple, the $2 hoe?
Well, sort of. Yes and no. It's close.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm gonna get. I need a little more clarification. It is not Trippy Pineapple's face. No. Next question.
Wow. Okay, Scott Royston gifted 5 memberships tonight. Steve Plum, I'm curious who Gracie is at the end of your shows. Steve wants to know.
There is no way anybody. Do you know who knows it? Sun Valley Fox knows this answer, and I do. And Mrs. Four would have known. George Burns, I forget her name. He was married to, what was her name? Gracie something.
Allen.
Gracie Allen.
You're welcome.
Well, it was George Allen Burns. I guess it was Gracie Allen. Okay. Anyway, so she played the part of a dingy person, and he was the straight man, and she was the dingy one. Whether they did radio and they did some stand up, and it was George and Gracie, and then she was like, I don't know what's going on all around me. I don't get it. And he goes, just say goodnight, Gracie. And instead of her saying goodnight, everybody, he would say goodnight, Gracie, and she'd go, goodnight, Gracie. Like she's talking to someone, and her name was Gracie. That was funny. So we took that on when we say goodnight, Gracie, and my wife goes, goodnight, Gracie, like she's talking to someone else. It's really an old shtick. It pays homage to George Burns, to George and Gracie. But you would, unless you looked it up and saw that, you wouldn't get the shtick. But it really was classic and timeless, and we just stole part of that and we threw it in there at the end. That's it.
Chipmunk, member for 20 months. I have a random request.
Chipmunk has a random request. Okay.
Could we have a night where Gen X mom gives beauty advice like face masks and stuff she might use or knows good tips for stuff?
You know when you should ask her that? We're doing a 12-hour live stream New Year's Eve from 12 in the afternoon right up till midnight Pacific Standard Time. We're doing a 12-hour stream. We're going to take turns. She's doing some. I'm doing some. The kid's doing some. I'm sure he's going to bring some of his friends in here. But she will have an hour or two, and she's done this before, where it's just her. You guys can talk to just Gen X mom. You've got some one-on-one time with your queen. So that'll be the time to ask. This year's going to be different though, because if we do it on multiple platforms, I'm still going to have to do something to help with the sheets, and we're going to have some staff, which staff might be thin because everyone's going to be out partying. So, but we might be able to take questions from different platforms like we're doing now. Briggs, are we still up on TikTok?
No.
Why?
I don't know. It just shut off. There's no error. There's no alert or anything like that. It just stopped.
Put it back.
Blake Miller.
Now, if I had not asked,
it won't let me go back.
Really?
Yeah. I hit go live, and it's like no. It told me no.
Can I continue?
Go ahead.
Blake Miller on Facebook. Hey, Gen X Dad. Blake Miller again. Would you be cool with explaining to the non-car individuals that all the new fancy stuff that make the cars so fancy and amazing today makes the car smarter than the drivers?
Yeah, smarter than the drivers? I don't know, smarter than some drivers. Do you guys realize that cars that are built today have over 150 computers on them? Yeah, 150 computers and modules that do things. They memorize things, they interact with each other, and they function together, and they have to work together. And all of them are VIN coded, so you can no longer go down to the junkyard and get a little module that runs your side view mirror, because it has a VIN number built in, and as soon as you plug it in, it reports into the other computers and says, hey, I'm here, and here's my VIN. And the other computers go, you're not part of this car. You're from a wrecking yard. You can't work. And then it's very limited or no working at all. Very frustrating to do that, but they do it on purpose, so you have to go to the dealership and buy a new part or have it programmed at the dealership. It's tough, but yeah, there's cars. My truck, if I flip a certain button, it tries to steer and keep me in the lane. It tries